I'm Chris Shattuck, and this is how hooks work and how to use them. In this video, we're going to build a module tracking history by implementing several different hooks, and we're going to take a look at how hooks work in the back end. In this video, I'm going to be explaining how hooks work. We're going to look at how Drupal core implements several different of its most commonly used hook functions. And then we're going to go through in detail and create a module that will use several different hooks in order to create its functionality. And while we'll be covering more hooks in future videos, there's no way that we can exhaustively cover them all. But if you're curious just exactly what you have to work with, you can go to this page on api.drupal.org that includes information about all of the different hooks in Drupal. Just search for Drupal hooks in Google and make sure you're on the Drupal 7 tab. If you scroll down, you'll see a list of hooks, and these are all hooks that are implemented in Drupal core that you can use to alter the way that Drupal works in some way, from adding new blocks, to editing existing blocks, to adding new permissions, to changing how the search index is actually indexed. It runs the gambit. Pretty much anything that you can think of to modify in Drupal, you can do through hooks, and that's its major power. Throughout this video, we're going to be building a module step by step that demonstrates how to use several of the most commonly implemented hooks. In the end, our module will display a block that will show the last several pages that have been visited by the current user. This functionality is kind of cool, and we're going to be continually enhancing this module as we go through future videos to interact with the database layer and the theming layer as well. But this is where we're starting. Let me quickly show you some of the behind-the-scenes configuration for this block as well. The number of pages that it displays is variable, and you can change this setting in a configuration form. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. I'm going to click on the cogwheel here and configure block. And we see here number of items to show. And we can drag down here and add all the way up to 199. I've added an extra layer of complexity to this to demonstrate how to add configuration items. And so if you go to configuration trails, you can see the maximum number of items to display input here, which is directly related to the number of items that can display on a block. So here, in this configuration form, we set the maximum number of items that can possibly be set to display in the block itself. So if we limit this to 13 and we save the configuration, and we go back to the configuration page for the block itself, now we can only add up to 13 as the maximum number for our block. So what this demonstration does is show us how several different hooks interact with one another. And if you want to load this module as is, completely finalized, here's how to do it. First of all, go ahead and open up the Build a Module resource folder that you've downloaded from the site, and look for the Trails-01-Hooks folder. Now this is the first iteration of the Trails module, which we're going to use in future videos, but this one is to demonstrate hooks. In this folder, you'll see a steps folder, and this contains versions of the trails.module file at different stages during the development process. So it goes from taking a look at the initial hook functions and tracing the call stack, up to the final module that you just saw in action. So let's go ahead and copy this folder, and we're going to go to our site and navigate to Sites, All, Modules, Custom, and we're going to paste that folder in. Now this has a suffix on it just to delineate it from the future versions of the Trails module. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these so we're left with just a folder called Trails. Now we have the basic module scaffolding here. We have a README file, a trails.admin.inc file that contains some administration configuration, and the trails.info file. Now we also have a folder called steps. So let's go ahead and copy this last version of the Trails module, which is the final version. and paste it into the Trails folder. Now this also contains a suffix with some information about this file. So let's go ahead and remove that so that the file is named trails.module. Let's go ahead and open up the trails.module file. In it, you'll see an implementation of several hooks, and we're going to go through this entire code in a step-by-step process from here on out. And at the end, we'll return back to this version and take a look at some of the comments and additional information that's in it. So once we have this as our .module file, we can go ahead and enable the module by going to Modules and scrolling down to the Build a Module section and make sure that Trails is enabled. And click Save Configuration.